Deal.
Hayden.
Boys, how are we?
Good. How are you?
Good, mate. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. I guess it's early days in the year, but it's flying by, isn't it? Already February, and
Yeah.
things are moving fast. How's the start to the year been for you boys?
It's been good. Just enjoying the beach, basically, getting up the coast as much as possible, and sort of getting the timeline ready for the year's promotions.
Yeah, we got some sun this year, which is great. The last few years, it's been a bit of a hard taskmaster, but yeah, great to have you guys on the podcast. So this is our first episode for 2023. And as many of our listeners have just heard with the intro to you guys, this is going to be a really fascinating story. Now, with the NORMLESS podcast, it was built around four of the main pillars. The first one being new and unique philosophies, knowledge of intriguing topics that inform or challenge individuals, and pillar 3, lessons learnt through tough life experiences and sacrifices, and adapting to new structures and achieving reinvention. So I guess today's episode is going to focus mainly around that third and fourth pillar. So I think what you guys are going to bring today to the listeners is really going to challenge those ideas of, reinventing yourselves and adapting to your circumstances and scenarios, but also overcoming obstacles and making sacrifices to grow your brand, which ultimately is EVATAC. So what I'm going to do to get things started, just to give the listeners a bit of background about who you guys are and a bit about EVATAC as a brand. What does it mean and what's it all about?
Yeah, for sure. So EVATAC started in America about 2016. We started selling in the tactical market, so that's where the tactical part of the name comes from. So we would sell firearm attachments and knives and hunting equipment and all that sort of gear, and hiking and camping gear as well. As we've had to evolve due to rules, regulations, for example, our spring-assisted knives aren't legal in Australia, and also you can't advertise them on Google or Facebook as well. So as we've come over to Australia, we've sort of evolved into the more fitness side of things. And that's where we've sort of gone down the combat sports road as far as athletes that we sponsor.
Yeah, and you said that combat sports type of athlete that you guys are sponsoring. So that includes things like in elite performance in the military, but also sports environment. So things like UFC.
Yeah.
And you guys are looking at going into sponsoring some CrossFit athletes as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like that, as well as essentially that role model as well, of like pushing your mind to that next level too. So not just like the combat sports and stuff like that, but as well as like the ICN athletes and everything like that, because it's you versus you at the end of the day, and that's what we're inspired by as well.
And yeah, so like on your website, it has EVATAC symbolizes the balance between the tactically minded, but also the athletic culture within fitness. I guess we'll get more towards how you've had to mold the business as you've come from the States over to Australia. And there's some really interesting challenges and stories that have come out of that, shake up to your business model. But can you guys give me a bit of a background on how you came? I know you've got a bit of a background in e-commerce, but over the last decade, tell us a bit about your story. We might start with Drew.
Yeah. I'll start right at the very start. So when I first tried to start making money online, it was probably about 2005, 2006. So I started there. I would start with basically creating websites to try to make money from display ads. And display ads are basically Google ads on your website. And if somebody clicks the link on the website, I get a very small part of that. The advertiser pays Google, then Google paid me a small amount. So basically I was 2 years down the road, I was making these websites. I think one of them was the NissanSkyline.com and the NissanSylvia.com. I was writing to my cars. So I was making approximately about $1 per week. This is after about 2 years of hustling online, spending a lot of time doing it, doing $1 per week. And I remember one of my very first goals was to try to, so I had my day job over on the south side of Brisbane. And for lunch, I would get a chicken from Woolies and basically a 6-pack of bread rolls from Brumbies, and I'd make chicken sandwiches. That's my lunch for the whole week. and I'd treat myself every now and then with a Subway. So my goal was to make enough money online to get one Subway 6-inch sub each week.
It's only a small goal, isn't it? But when you think about it, like everyone's starting off from the grassroots. Like you got to start somewhere. Hey, so
yeah. I set extremely small goals, but they were achievable. So I hit that goal of getting the Subway, and I just remember sitting there eating it, just thinking, "Holy crap! This is a free Subway every week for the rest of my life." I was literally over the moon. I thought I was a quad billionaire. Yeah, I thought I'd done it.
It's all relative,
and
isn't
then
it?
the next goal, because I had to drive over the Gateway Bridge every day, and the tolls were like, I think $2 a day. So this was, way back where you had to throw the coins into the basket, where the 5s and 10 cent pieces would get stuck to your thumb and roll under the car. So I've done that a few times as well. I had to crawl under the car looking for the 10-cent piece. But anyway, my next goal was to make enough money to pay for tolls to get to my day job each week. And slowly scaled up. The next goal after that was to pay for fuel for my, I think it was like a 1989 Daihatsu Charade. So all these very small goals, and I hit those goals and slowly scaled up the business that way. That was like way when I very first started from $0 in my account, like a debt with cars, essentially like a 20 grand debt on a car that didn't run. That's why I was driving this old Charade around. It started there, slowly building these websites, and then I got into ebooks. So I sort of leveled up a bit from ebooks, and I started on ClickBank getting affiliates to promote all these various ebooks, from organic gardening to self-reliance, self-defense, and all these weird niches like how to grow grapes, woodworking. There's aquaponics, which is like growing your vegetables in like a fish pond thing. All these really, really unusual niches I went through, and as I went through these niches, I started to scale up the business, and I was doing enough money at that point. This is probably 5 years down the line from when I very first started online. Was making enough to be able to finally quit my day job. So I worked for myself for about 10 years at that point, just working from home. I did actually take a 2-year break, which I don't know if that was a good or bad thing or not. So I literally didn't work for 2 years, and I was doing the
fun, hey?
Yeah, smoking weed.
Stoned.
Basically every weekend, playing COD. So playing Call of Duty non-stop. So I did that for a couple of years. And then I slowly got back into it again, did a few more ebooks. And then eventually I ended up promoting somebody's product as an affiliate on Instagram. So I was pushing these credit card knives, it's like a credit card shaped thing, and it folds out into this little knife. So I was an affiliate pushing a product where I got a commission. And then I thought, why don't I just start making my own products? So I connected with some people in China, and then started making my own products, and eventually started branding them as Evertac. And that would have been in 2016. I started branding them as Evertac. And then that was probably only last year, really, that came to Australia in 2021. I guess Black Friday last year was the first real push for the brand in Australia. And that brings us to today, where the brand is in America doing pretty consistent numbers, and then we're just kickstarting in Australia now.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and I guess gives you a big picture. You know, we look a lot at Instagram and Facebook and all the social media platforms these days, and it really is, you know, everyone's highlight reel. We see all the good parts. We see the cars, you know, the houses, you know, the partners, and, you know, out on beautiful holidays in the Bahamas or on a coastal paradise.
Yeah.
We don't see, you know, that Subway where you're grinding away just to make that, buy that Subway and set those really small micro goals, and, you know, building up to that we don't see that.
A lot of memes and that sort of thing, like motivational memes, it's always like think big and set massive goals, all this sort of thing. I sort of completely went the opposite. I set tiny, really, really achievable goals, and then just sort of kept doing that. I didn't think big for one moment. I didn't think I'd be doing the sort of numbers that we'd done ever. Like, it wasn't even a thought process at all. I just wanted a Subway once a week.
Mate, I want a Subway now as well.
Yeah. And it's not your general thinking either to kind of think, oh, how can I automate this, or how can I make like residual income so then it can be easier. Like that like that 1% thinking on the outskirts as well. It's like not every day someone goes, how can I make tolls free? How can I make Subway like a treat? Like it's rare.
Yeah, I didn't think about the money. I didn't think about the money at all. It was just like trying to get little tiny things free, like the toll or the fuel, and just these tiny little goals. Even like, you know, if you want to pay for your gym membership, get free gym for the rest of your life. You just have to make $20 a week, that sort of thing. And that's
it almost gives you that opportunity to set up your systems. You know, if you're a personal trainer or, you know, practitioner and you've got your first client, you know, you work out, well, you know, how you drew them in through your marketing or whatnot, you know, how you're going to set up your systems and grow your business. So I think it's a really good lesson for anyone out there that's trying to grow their brand or build a business.
Yeah, for sure.
We might jump on to Dyll now. Did you want to give us a bit of a rundown in your backstory as to how you got here now?
Yeah. For sure. So
you're the athlete manager with EVATAC at the moment. So
that's correct. So I look after all the customer support and all our athletes here in EVATAC, which is unreal opportunity to be like for me as well to be able to kind of do that. So it's certainly enjoyable coming to work every single day and just getting to see and connect with all these influencers and just, you know, like it's inspiring as well, like connecting with all these guys, because it's like it just shows like what the potential of anyone can be, you know, like
and having them come to the office as well for photo shoots is really cool. Like these, you know, pretty big names coming over and just getting to meet them all and doing that sort of thing.
Who are some of those names, Drew, that you could, you know, rattle off? I think we mentioned Tyson Pedro is one of them. Is there any others?
Tyson Pedro in the UFC. Jackson Tippett, he's a pretty decent sized influencer we like to work with as well. He's in a lot of our photo shoots. Liam Paro, he's got a big fight up coming up March 31 somewhere in March. He's got a big fight happening over in the States. So yeah, these names, it's really good to meet them because we sort of would follow them ourselves and sort of inspired by them, and then we sort of start talking to them, and then all of a sudden they're in the office playing table tennis with us. It's unreal.
We've also worked with names like Dyllon and Brody Pawson, where, you know, it's a little bit different, where it's going down that parkour route, and you know, you kind of don't think of it, but then all of a sudden, you know, you meet these guys, you know, unreal, you know, the potential is insane, where they're climbing 3, 4, 5 meter type stories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you'll be at the gym the next station, and then all of a sudden you see videos of them, you know, jumping through that, like doing their thing in the gym, and you're like, wow, like you don't realize the effect and like the potential that these guys have until, you know, it's also brought into your world as well.
It's a different caliber of athlete too. Hey, you know, with EVATAC, it's kind of like you've got your elite performance, military performance kind of flavor on it. We don't see, you know, UFC fighters modeling Gymshark and all that kind of thing. So I think you guys have got a nice little niche area in the market there, which you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I guess too, it's like it stemmed from like that military thinking, and then it's kind of evolved away, in a sense, away from that military, diving into the you know, the specific type of like the training and the specific type of tactic and like the combat, the, you know, the speciality of it all. And that's where we kind of like stuck into, because it was like cool, like we're going to stick away a little bit from the military and just show how it's like that, because it's all like that one-on-one type of stuff, you know, like the boxing, the combat, the parkour, the ICN. It's you versus you, and it's like I was saying before, it's like it's continually evolving into that route where it's like you're training and you're evolving just to beat you. And that's, I think it's such an important it's like such an important message as well, because we're so, especially this day and age, we get so caught up on what other people think of us, that it's like it's an amazing reminder, especially like what we like to portray, where it's like it's always you versus you, and as long as you stick in your own lane, like your potential is limitless.
Yeah, but we couldn't really do the military side of influencers in Australia either, because we can't sell the knives or the firearm sites and all that sort of stuff, so there's no point going down that road. So that's where the combat sports was a much better match for us. We can't sell the products in Australia anyway, whereas in America we could definitely go down that style of customer base, you know.
And that was one of the transitions you had to make, but we'll talk about that a bit later. So Dill, do you want to talk to us more about where you got started? So I'm aware that you started in a bar, like bartending role.
Yeah.
So
So like essentially, something that I've always stuck by is like, if you're not happy about something, do something about it. And that's why it's just forced me to do so many careers, where it's like I went from carpentry to doing my Cert 3 in hospitality, and then my Cert 3 in hospitality into doing my Certs 3 and 4, utilizing that time, and then going into, working at like an F45, then going to own a PLC, and then going from owning a PLC to managing one to then owning my own coaching business. And like every single time I did that, it was more working out. So, okay, cool. What do I like and what do I don't like from this job? And what's a job where it's not doing the things that I don't like and it's doing the things that I like? So it's like carpentry. It's like I love the hands-on stuff and everything like that, but I absolutely hated the driving. The environment I was around was horrible. So I was like, all right, cool. I want to obviously help. I want to help evolve my communication skills, hospitality and everything like that. So I was like, all right, well, makes sense. Hospitality was like, that's how I got into that. And I loved it, like to the point where it taught me how to talk to people. It taught, like, every single job that I've had has taught me a skill as well to where I am. And like hospitality taught me like how to communicate with people and make sure like how to help people, and ensure that they have a really good time, which helps me with the, got me to the customer support side of things. And like then I evolved from the communication into the gym and fitness. Like that's where my growth within my personal growth started. Like going into the health and fitness, working on my body, working on my mind, working on my spiritual health. That's where that all started to like the boom up, and then I just kept evolving from there. It's like, like, cool, what am I not enjoying, what do I like doing, and then evolve it like even further into that as well. So to the point where there was a section of time where I was helping people like find their purpose, find their mission, unlock their values, like understand the difference between masculine and feminine energies. And that was all well and good, like, and then from there I still evolve. It's like I love being around that team environment. How can I bring all my skills that I have now into a team environment? And yeah, that's how I've come into the space of a customer support and influencer manager.
And so, Dill, you were working, you were owning a F45 studio in
owning a PLC.
PLC, okay, and that was in South Australia.
Yeah, correct.
And so, from South Australia, and that business didn't quite work out, you moved up to Brisbane. Is that correct?
Yeah,
and then
yeah. So like the business kept going. I sold my shares and I moved out of it. Like when you've got two business owners like with two different type of directional mindsets of wanting to kind of go different ways, that's where the business clash. You got to make sure that you're on the same line for that business, and making sure that you're both going towards the same goal, and making sure you want to collaborate on that type of road. But I was happy to go and be like, nah, like I'm happy to step out. Like I've fulfilled this section, and I made peace with that. And that's where I was like, okay, cool. What's next? And then I had an opportunity to kind of just manage a gym up here in Queensland, and I was like, yeah, cool, no worries, I'll be there in 20 days. So just packed up my stuff, and within 20 days I just decided to move to Queensland. And even that alone had so many little challenges. Like I think it was like 6 days out, the place where I was originally going to live pulled out of me, so I was trying to find a place to live within 6 days. And yeah, good old flatmates helped me out there.
So how long ago was that, Dill?
So it was 2019. It was just before COVID kind of kicked off. Yeah, so I experienced about 8 months here in Brizzy before COVID.
And so Evertac kind of kicked off in 2016. Is that correct? When you first started selling your products in the States?
Yeah, in America it did. So it wasn't in Australia at all. I just had the reason why I started in America to begin with, through all my ebook sales and I guess other online ventures up to that point, my customer base or my email lists were basically 99% from America. So it just made sense to start shipping out to those customers. That was just the easiest customers to sell to. So I got a warehouse through a 3PL. That was in Denver. That's where all the products are stored. So I shipped it all over to there, and then basically started started, I guess the first promos were emailing this existing customer base that I'd already collected.
And so when you're in the States there, can you tell us a little bit more about, because you initially started, so while Dill was over here in Australia doing his thing, you had started the brand, building the brand in the States. What kind of products? So we're talking knives, firearms, backpacks. What kind of equipment were you selling at that time?
In the States around that time, so I was doing red dot sights, which is, I don't know if you were Call of Duty, probably inspired, where it's like the little screen and you got like the red dot.
Yeah.
And laser sights. So we still sell these products now. And like firearm gun rests and that sort of thing for rangers, gun bags and all that sort of stuff. So it was definitely more the sort of products that are not essentially legal in Australia. So that was in 2016.
And so when you came over to Australia, that was...
I was always in Australia.
Right.
Yeah, I was always in Australia. So I lived in Australia the whole time. But the reason why I just started shipping from America or selling to America is
in order
just
to sell those products.
Journalist, yeah. So I was basically doing a lot of Skype calls and that sort of thing with the warehousing in America, and just try to set all of that up, which is super scary because I guess up until 2020, so I already had a whole lot of stock there. Probably 2019, already had a whole lot of stock there. I hadn't seen one bit of it. I hadn't seen any of the stock. I mean, they'd send me some photos every now and then of my pallets and stuff, but up to that point, I'd shipped over quite a lot of value to the States and not seen any of it at all.
And so when you transferred your Shopify store, like you ran into some quite major hurdles with, I guess, the gun laws in Australia and how different they are to the States. Can you provide our listeners with a bit of an idea in how difficult that was and some of the hurdles you started to come up against?
Yes. So what happened was I've got my Facebook account completely banned. In fact, a couple of mine and one of my employees as well, his got banned because after mine was gone, we tried his, and then same thing happened. So we connected our Shopify store had all these illegal products, knives, illegal over there, by the way, but illegal
in Australia.
Facebook, I suppose. So we connected the Shopify store to Facebook, and everything was imported over to Facebook. So all these products were imported over to Facebook. And then in an instant, basically Facebook just banned the account, shut it down due to advertising these illegal products. Or restricted product is probably a better word. And then we didn't know it was going to pull it over. So we tried again with my employee's account. And it automatically pulled it over again. We didn't know, it was just an error. It wasn't meant to happen. We didn't want to even advertise these products through Facebook, but just because they were listed on the store, it just pulled all that information across. So basically, I've got multiple Facebook accounts. I don't even know my login details. I've got to ask somebody for that, just because I've got so many accounts that we've used to try to bypass this issue. And then now that's over. Now my phone number's banned, my email, my computer itself, I can't create a new Facebook account, a Facebook advertising account through my computer because they just know it's me, and it just gets banned instantly every time. So that was a massive hurdle right there, dealing with the Facebook compliance issues.
It's something not many, for those listeners who are living here in Australia, it's something that likely never heard of anything like this. So, for someone like yourself, how did you overcome those issues?
Essentially, what helped us out get back on Facebook is an ad agency. So we run our ads through an agency account, and essentially everything's smooth sailing now. But it does cost us an additional 4% on our ad spend to be able to use agency accounts to run our ads. And obviously we've removed all the knives and all those sort of products off our store, so it's completely compliant with Facebook. But that's the only way we've been able to run these accounts.
And so you said you're doing a lot of SEO, but also email marketing as well. So
yep,
mailing lists and so forth. Is that what you're utilizing at the moment?
At the moment, so in America, we are using Facebook ads now through the agency account.
Yep.
And basically that collects emails and that sort of thing that we then promote to. But our biggest success, I suppose, was a couple of years ago running YouTube ads. So we were running YouTube ads really quite successfully. We were spending about $20,000 a day on ads, which is about 30K with the current conversion. And we're bringing in about 110,000 a day in revenue. So we're going crazy with these YouTube ads and doing really well. And I wanted to scale up even more. I wanted to get some really, really huge numbers. So I purchased from the supplier $1 million worth of backpacks and another $1 million worth of knives, US dollars. So it's about 2.8 Australian total. Because I just really wanted to scale this up to really big numbers. And then just before the products were in America ready to sell, Apple did an update, which is the iOS 14 update. And that required users of Facebook and YouTube and all these sort of things to share their data back to Google and Facebook. And a lot of people didn't share that data, which means our tracking just dropped and our ads basically died overnight. And that it sort of left me with almost $3 million worth of stock that was just sitting there, and I had literally no avenue to sell them because at that point we didn't have these Facebook accounts we could run ads through. So I had all this stock there, and it was costing me between 12 and 13,000 US dollars a month to even store the stuff there. So month after month, I'd have to make 13,000 US dollars in profit just to run even, and that just went straight over to the shipping company, the 3PL that we used in Denver. So that was a really hard time for a couple of years actually, and we're just slowly getting a grasp on that now. We've still got some stock there, but we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel basically, which is very, very, very awesome.
And I guess not only, during that phase, COVID, March 2020, kind of around that period, the world was a different place too. So I can imagine it would have been a real challenging time for you boys there.
Yeah, I did pretty decent during that time period. I got into selling masks to America like pretty early on.
You copped a bit of slack for that. Hey, you got a bit.
What was that?
You copped a bit of slack for that as well.
I did, yeah. I did get some nasty messages from people saying I was profiting from a pandemic and all this sort of thing. So I was really happy to see a couple of months later that you could buy them at Dick Smith and Bunnings and all these other online retailers were selling these masks. And I was just like, it actually took a load off my shoulders that competition started selling these masks. So yeah, that was a really interesting time. I was really flat out. I was really quite stressed actually. I was working non-stop. I was probably getting about 4 hours sleep a night for about a month, just because the sales were just extremely hectic. So at the time we had 4 customer support agents in the Philippines, and we had to scale up to 17 people in about a week or 2 weeks time. So I was like, it was hectic with the customer support as well. Trying to, people saying, hey, what's my tracking number and all these sorts of things. It was just, really full on.
And I guess that kind of leads into Dill too, and his role, I guess, outreach and grasping new influencers or people that are going to represent the brand. We spoke a little bit about, Tyson Pedro and some of the athletes that you've had on. But as you started to rebuild and find your feet again, as we were talking about with Drew, you're starting to come out of that period where quite a challenging time. How hard has it been now, I guess, moving on to a different challenge in terms of managing your athletes and growing the brand and having your trust in representatives?
Yeah, well, like stemming off of that social media issue, like Instagram and Facebook was just such obviously they're the same business, so it's like when at that, we was just so wary when we were creating an Instagram page. It was like, is this going to get banned or not? To the point where it was like I had to start the Instagram page on my phone.
Yeah. So you control all the pages.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Drew's the owner and he still hasn't even seen the messages.
I can't log into it or anything because they'll know.
Yeah,
they'll bloody know. They'll track us down and it's all toast.
Like you will never hear a CEO say never been able to access his Instagram page.
So that's the metaverse, eh? Everything's connected. They know everything. They got all the ads and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. So, so it's just trying to get this brand off on Instagram, like that was hard enough as it is.
was.
But then going into creating trust with these influencers and creating trust with the people, like we're trying to promote
From nothing, hey, from when we had like very few followers, it was much harder for them to trust us.
Exactly right. So we had to go through that stage where it was like it was almost in a sense sales in a sense. It was like trying to convince like why we're a legit brand, we're not we're not a scam.
Can you please take these free products
just
to help us grow, please?
It's like help us move it. And once we started getting we started to onboard some high-end athletes like your Tyson Pedro, your Liam Power and everything like that. People actually saw, okay, wow, these guys, like the people are real, so the brand must be real, so once they saw all the products and stuff like that on the athletes, then all the influencers that I've actually reached out to started to reply, oh my god, so sorry, this is in my private inbox, I didn't see this. It's like, and it was really cool because it was like they, like, not only did they see the message and everything like that, but they actually wanted to be a part of the brand. And that's when it started to get really exciting, so we started going into this phase where, like the last Black Friday, it was very heavily like influencer based, where, we were giving away a strike bag. And we went ham on the influencer, making sure that every single influencer that we had a strike bag, and to the point they were showcasing it, and the stories and the posts and the content that was coming through was unreal. And that just started to really blow up at like our social media, to the point where it was like, wow, like this is real content, this is fun content, this is something where people now want to be a part of. Like, people see our mission, they see our purpose of the reason why we're driving this brand. And it's so cool to see that people want to be a part of it, especially the athletes.
And once you get like a few of those big names on there, it kind of gives you a bit of leverage, doesn't it? It gives the brand a bit of legitimacy and helps you, I guess, then bring in other higher profile athletes or affiliates that you can then use.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's crazy how people will instantly kind of judge a brand by just how many followers or something like that. It's like, if you don't have 100K, you must not be a legit brand. It's like,
but like we were around for like 5 years before we had the Instagram account.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because we couldn't do it. Like when I was by myself and I didn't have any employees, I couldn't start an Instagram account. I was done. I couldn't start an account to try to build up at all. So Dyllon sort of saved the day there by being the owner, the page owner of these accounts.
So it's only now that we've kind of been able to really take off with the socials.
I guess one of your pillars, though, is on your website is the Fight Forward, where you look at aligning the world leading athletes with your values of EverTac. So I guess where do you draw that line between, becoming a sellout, where you're just trying to bring in the most influential people, versus, finding people that really align with your brand, that can represent the brand in a way that you want the brand to be represented?
A bit of both. Hey, I mean, we get some of the bigger names for the traffic and that sort of thing, obviously, and more word of mouth. But then we do get some lesser known athletes like Vegas Larfield. He's a young boxer out of All Star Boxing. And I think we see a lot of potential with him because he's a young guy and he's doing really well. Do you know what his stats are? Is it 6-0 or
6-0?
Yeah,
he's got a belt too now at the moment.
So. So we definitely are going to keep sponsoring those smaller, lesser known people. And then just because we believe in them. Like Liam Paro, we sponsored him before his last big fight at South Bank, and he blitzed that. So now he's leveled up, and we've stuck with him. So in a way, we're sort of helping each other grow as he works his butt off. That helps us out, and then we sort of tag along and support him.
Yeah. So I guess, like, what kind of things have you learnt from all of that? I guess this is more aimed towards you, Dill. From managing those athletes and trying to market and grow the brand.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is you can see the type of people that, how they do anything is how they do everything. Or who the people who's just a horrible load of shit, and they just, they're doing it for the socials and they don't actually mean what they say. And the more you do it, the more that you can pick up on, people's like authentic self, or yeah, are they just being a clown and, you know, just trying to do it for just the money and everything like that. So you know, like finding a good balance between, you know, like those really good, like the really good athletes too are not putting too much time into socials. So it's like, yeah, they may be an excellent athlete, they could be amazing, but at the same time too, we have to also think, all right, cool, how are we also going to benefit this? Because if they're not doing anything to do with socials, you know, because they're so athletic based, or, you know, that they're not putting time into their socials because it's all their time into their training. Well, it's like, how are we going to benefit from that as well? Because you're not known, you know. So it's like, it's also,
So we'll help them as well in those
exactly
sorts of
right.
instances. Yeah,
Exactly
we'll
right.
help them and give them what they need to make the posts easier, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
where it's been enjoyable, because it's like we also help educate those
Yeah.
like athletes and influencers, because it holds them to a standard of, okay, cool, I need to post for these guys, I need to get content, and it brings a lot more awareness for them, which, you know, helps them grow, which then, you know, who knows, it might even bring in more sponsorships, more opportunities for them in the future too.
Yeah.
But at the time, we get to showcase their athletic potential through us, and that's where it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, and I think like one of the things we've spoken about recently is the way you guys have pivoted from more of a, you're still obviously your tactical brand is EverTac, but the products that you might be selling are slightly different, and you've kind of had to maneuver towards more of that athleisure kind of fitness apparel. What kind of I guess hurdles have you found in terms of having to navigate the business in that respect?
Yeah, for sure. Well, basically just having the leftover stock in America and not being able to sell that here, that's definitely a hurdle. It just means, I guess all the stock's there and we can't move. We have to just keep pushing over there while we're still, I guess it's a little bit of split focus. We still have to push over there, have a brain on America because that stock's still there and it's still costing me money to keep it there. But then over here, we got to completely change the website, the design, the story, even the product descriptions on the website to suit a different audience. So we've done more of the clothing, fitness, and that sort of thing, and the backpacks and duffel bags and that sort of stuff as well. Definitely, that goes in both markets. So when I order them, it just sort of splits between the two countries.
You say it's kind of like two different businesses almost, like you're running one in America that, you know, firearms and knives, and then it's more of your.
It does make, that is actually a fairly big challenge, to be honest. Hey,
It's like trying to run a cruise liner and a dinghy at the same time, you know, and trying to evolve,
trying to grow the dinghy into another
Yeah.
cruise liner. Exactly. Yeah.
you know, and then it's like you also got the additional cost of getting all this, like if we've got additional stock over the US, like bringing it all here, it's just all added costs as well.
Yeah, yes. So we've had to do that a few times, bring over, because if sales go strong here, I mean, Black Friday last year, the sales were stronger than we anticipated. We sold out of a lot of our stuff in day one, and we're like, oh my God, we got to bring some stuff over from America. So we had to air freight all these backpacks and all these other products over from the States. So basically, it's just like another additional shipping cost that we didn't really account for. The margin basically just went way down for Australian sales, but we just wanted to keep the sales coming in, basically.
And Dill, you were talking a bit about awareness. So I'm like, on the topic of awareness, you guys aren't just, you know, a business, you're also finding ways to give back. And so another one of those pillars that you guys have in your business is the repayment of debt. So in every purchase of a Hyperflex t-shirt on your website you donate towards the Wounded Heroes charity. And can you tell us a little bit more about the Wounded Heroes charity and your partnership with them?
Yeah, so essentially it's like it's aligning a little bit more with like with the military side of things like that as well, where it's like we just try and give back to them, like those who serve, you know, like especially things like was it like there's another company called APOD as well. It's like Australian. Yeah, completely forgot the name. APOD. You should know. But yeah, it's like, but it's just giving back to those who serve, you know, and it's like not every day that someone's going to make it social, that to the point where, you know, they made an impact, and we just want to make sure that we recognize the ones that have made an impact and not talking about it, you know. So it's just bringing awareness to the point where it's like, especially like Australia and everything like that, like Anzac and everything like that, like we wouldn't be who we are today if it wasn't for like the soldiers and stuff like that back in the day. So it's a way of giving back, and it also helps our brand to kind of show that, you know, we care.
Now, would I be correct in saying that the Wounded Heroes charity is only in its early days? I think it's a national community organisation supporting Australian, in particular, servicemen and women. But we've got some statistics here that say that around 141 veterans have been assisted through the organisation, 216 crisis calls been made, around $22,000 or $23,000 worth of meals have been provided, almost $40,000 worth of accommodation, almost $16,000 worth of utilities and medications, and also around $2,800 worth of fuel. So definitely some positive impacts coming out of that, no doubt. Can you tell us maybe a little bit more about on the side of that, you know, where those funds are going, and where the organization's at in terms of its development?
Well, they're actually a separate, like they're separate. So we're not actually a part of that. We just donate the shirts, and they kind of deal with all of that themselves. So I'll be honest, I won't know too much about the statistics
about that. Yep.
But we do know, like, you know, like if we're putting clothes on, you know,
It goes directly to them.
yeah, exactly right. Like we know that the clothes are going to, you know, the veterans and everything like that. You know, they've sent a few photos through, and it's like it's so epic to see that, you know, like we're not just giving money, we're actually giving things that they can actually use and utilize, to the point where, you know, it's an additional cost where they don't have to think about.
Yeah, it's a fantastic cause, and it aligns well with your business model, doesn't it? The tactical military. Yeah. So it's a really nice,
a little bit of that military tactical sort of side of things that's come over from the original EverTac in America, that sort of followed it over here. So we tried our best to tie in the two styles of the brand into the one in Australia. Since we can't do those sorts of products, we've sort of gone down that sort of thing as well with the combat sports and then the Wounded Heroes.
Tried to kind of pivot as much as you can of much of that military side of things, with obviously without, you know, the firearms and
exactly right. Yeah.
Knives and things. All right. Well, we've actually you guys have got a new elite duffel bag launch campaign coming up. So luckily enough, I actually picked up my bags today. So we got the black and the beige, so we can do a little bit of a impromptu unboxing.
Excellent.
The people who are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast obviously won't see this, but if you jump onto the NORMLESS podcast YouTube, you can see the episode clips. So there'll be an unboxing clip there, so you can have a look at some of the bags, or you can jump on the EverTac website, which we'll put in the show notes as well. But yeah, what can you tell us about those bags, guys? I'll grab one now and we can have a look at it.
It took a long time. I've got one here as well, just to go through some of the features.
Yeah, well, you want to get yours, mate?
Yeah.
We can
So basically, like, I took the original bag, which is basically a black bag, and I added all these little features on it. So the original one of the sample that we saw just had plastic clips, so we've upgraded all of them to metal clips, clips and buckles. The zippers themselves, they're much thicker YKK zippers, and the zipper pullers as well. They're customized as well. I've added other little things as well. So we got the little authentic little patch on the inside. The original sample bag that I received didn't have a pocket on the inside, so there's a pocket on the inside of this as well that's lined with felt. And then you can get all these other little attachments as well. Like I've got the drink bottle holder on this one here, and it just sort of fits in like that. So you can fit on molly pouches onto the webbing on the sides as well. And then of course on the side here we've got the shoe pocket as well. So there's lots of little add-ons. And each little part of this bag, I actually had to speak to this factory over here that does the zippers. Had to speak to a factory over in this province that does the feet on the bottom of the bag. All these little parts, these here from a different factory. The patches here, that's from another factory. And I had to basically organize all these little parts to come together and ship them over to the one factory where they basically put it all together into the bag. So All of our bags are completely original. You'd never find them anywhere else. Even the patterns, this one here, this is my favorite. This is the Venom red color. All these patterns are all custom as well. So you actually can't buy these products anywhere else. They're all 100% custom made through us.
All inspired by, like, we also looked at like the athletes, too.
Yeah.
It's like what like how can we make a bag that's is suitable and can keep up with the athletic potential, and that's how
all the little add-ons. One athlete might say, "Oh, it'd be cool if you added this and this and this," and then the colors as well. We got the inspiration of all the colors from the athletes. I mean, we would ask them different ideas, and they came back with basically build this product.
One of my favorites is those shoe compartments. Are really good. Particularly if you got some like Olympic lifting shoes and you're changing footwear in the gym, it's really handy.
Yeah, sure.
And the other thing there, do you guys sell the additional attachments on your website as well to add on?
Yep, that's all there.
All right. And then I guess one of the other things that you guys, do you have any, in that campaign, is there any sales or anything, if anyone purchases the Elite Duffel, do they get any special incentives?
Yeah, so we recently decided that the launch sale is going to be, if you buy an Elite Duffel bag, you'll get 40% off store wide. So literally everything on the store is 40% off, and you get free express shipping. So that's the sale that we're going to be running with on launch day. And we're hoping we've been building up the sales for a few weeks now, building up the hype around the product. So I'm hoping for a really good launch on these.
Yeah, and so I guess that'll be really exciting. What date will that launch?
March 3.
Okay, so March 3. So everyone,
I'm hoping we're going to sell out by midday. So
fingers crossed. Make sure everyone listening and put that in their diaries. March 3, the launch of the Elite Duffel bag. Where else can our listeners find you guys on social media?
I'll take this. Yeah, so evertech.co is the Instagram. So that'll be like, that's definitely the main page as well. But we also got the Facebook as well. If you just look at type in Evertech AU, you'll certainly find us there as well.
Yeah, awesome having you on today, guys. I guess to wrap things up, maybe what kind of advice or key tips would you give for the listeners in terms of making sure that they're flexible and can pivot with overcoming challenges and any obstacles in their way to growing and building their business?
I would say you definitely have to be fluid. I think starting a business where you can be fluid and not not completely locked into a certain market, because if that drops, you can't make a plan B on the fly. Whereas when our YouTube, when iOS 14 came out and everything just dropped, it did take a while, but we were able to pivot to different advertising channels within the same niche. And the products didn't go to waste. Whereas if somebody was selling industrial lighting, then all of a sudden there was another competitor came out, and a bigger competitor came out, and you just could not compete with them. It makes it a lot harder, because you've got the products here. You can't then go and ask other mines to purchase your product. So I would say get into a niche where you can pivot easily. That's sort of my advice for long-term success, because you're going to have to pivot many, many times. It's not just your first try is definitely not going to be the one. And if it is, I don't know.
Always going to be a rocky road. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dyll.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Mine would be alongside of the mindset side of things, where, the ability how you can control your own internal stress will be the ability how you can control external stress that'll come at you. So, stress never gets easier. Just you become better on how you handle it. And if you're not putting the time and energy into bettering yourself, well then your business will only meet the levels of you. So always find ways to continue to put yourself into that stress, because at the end of the day, stress creates diamonds. So you just got to keep thriving and keep putting yourself into uncomfortable situations.
Awesome, boys. Any podcasts, any tools, any habits or anything that you're currently looking at or have adopted that can maybe potentially help others?
I don't actually. I don't really do too much of that sort of thing. I think I've got my head down in my own business too much, but I think that's probably a mistake of mine. I probably should be doing a lot more of the self-training or training where I sort of take advice from other people and purchasing courses and all that sort of thing. On that note, actually, I do have a launch page where I'm helping people start their own e-com success as well. So I created a domain name. It's all set up. That's launching in a couple of months. So that's ecomcourse.co. So I've set that up. If you are interested in online businesses and that sort of thing, yeah, check that out. Just a little shout out for myself there.
Yeah, no, and we'll plug all that in the show notes too, all your socials and websites and things. That's awesome, Drew. And Dill, mate, anything you're...
Yeah, like I think work out where you want to improve, and then find the mentors that you want to inspire to be like, and listen to them and do what they do. Because success leaves clues, and if you're passionate about something and you really want to kind of thrive in that area, you'll find a way to make sure it works. And if you find yourself that you're not liking it or whatever, it's a clear sign that you're probably not interested in it. So work out what you love, what you do. If it's fitness, if it's if it's mindset, if it's spiritual, if it's psychology, whatever it may be. Yeah, it's only a Google away, or a YouTube or a recommendation away for sure.
Awesome. So if you're passionate, you'll find a way. Great way to end the podcast, guys. I think that's a good motto to live by, and you guys have certainly done that. Gone through some massive hurdles and overcome those, and now you are where you are, and it's awesome to be a part of this brand, EverTac, and looking forward to the upcoming launch of the Elite Duffel. So thanks for coming on, guys.
Appreciate you being a part of it too.
Yeah, exactly right. You're aligned well.
Legends. All right. Well, we'll be back soon with next episode of the NORMLESS podcast. We have Gus Warland on from the Triple M Grill team. So that'll be a really interesting episode. So for all the listeners out there, stay tuned for that. But we say thank you again for your time today, boys. It's been really great to chat with you guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, mate.